The paper trembled between Lucas Crane's fingers. Not from the air conditioning, but from the fury he tried to choke down. At the top of the page, written in thick red ink, a bold F screamed louder than anything else in the silent hallway. He pressed the sheet against his locker, willing it to disappear. His knuckles whitened as he gripped the metal door. He imagined tearing it in half, shoving it deep into his bag, or lighting it on fire. But he didn't move. He just stood there, locked in place. A slow squeak of rubber wheels rolled closer. A mop bucket sloshed faintly. Then a voice, calm but firm, cut through the fluorescent hum. "That letter doesn't mean the story is over." Lucas whipped around. At the end of the hall, a woman in a Navy work uniform leaned on a mop. Her yellow gloves shone against the dull lockers. She had been cleaning quietly, unnoticed, until now. Her name tag read Linda James. He narrowed his eyes. "Are you spying on me while I fall apart?" Linda tilted her head, steady as stone. "No, I don't spy. I clean. But some messes are louder than others." Lucas snapped the paper in the air. "This is what failure looks like. My father sees another F, and I might as well pack my things." She pushed the mop bucket a few steps closer, water shifting with the motion. "You believe one grade tells you who you are. That's your first mistake." Lucas tried to slide the test into his bag, but it caught on a binder. He yanked at it, crumpling the corner. His voice cracked between anger and fear. "You don't understand. You don't live with William Crane." Linda placed the mop against the lockers and folded her arms. "You're right. I don't live with him. I live with myself. And I've failed enough times to know that what ruins you isn't the letter on a page. It's letting that letter define your next step." For the first time, Lucas really looked at her. Not the uniform. Not the bucket. Just her eyes, sharp, unflinching, like they saw through his practiced arrogance. "Fine then," he said, half bitter, half desperate. "Explain why every tutor quits on me. Explain why no matter how much I read, nothing sticks." "Show me," she said, extending one gloved hand. Lucas hesitated, then shoved the paper toward her. "Enjoy the comedy." She scanned the front, then the back. "Your answers stop too soon. You recite, but you don't argue. Definitions are safe. Arguments take risk. You never risk." He snatched it back. "So now you're my critic?" "I'll just fail more creatively next time." She didn't flinch. Instead, she pointed at the blank back of the paper. "Write 3 lines. First line, what the question asks. Second line, what you already know for certain. Third line, what you still need to discover." Lucas frowned. "I don't have a pen." She clicked one from her pocket and held it out. "Then borrow mine." No excuses. Grudgingly, Lucas used the locker door as a desk. His handwriting scratched across the page. What caused the Great Migration, and what effect did it leave on city culture? Sharecropping debt and Jim Crow violence. Need to find how northern cities actually changed, jobs, housing, maybe music. Linda nodded. "Now you see the path. You don't start with a blank wall. You start with a map. That's learning." Lucas handed back the pen. "The test is over. This doesn't matter anymore." "Grades end," she said, sliding the pen into her pocket. "Learning doesn't. You can lose a test and still win the next battle if you fix your process." He shoved the paper deep into his bag this time, careful not to let it show. "Why do you care what happens to me?" "Because I've watched too many students memorize words without learning to think," Linda said quietly. "And because I can see when someone wants to quit but hasn't admitted it yet." The hallway echoed as a teacher walked past them, gave a polite nod, and disappeared. The fluorescent lights hummed again. Lucas shifted uncomfortably. "You talk like you've taught before." "I have," Linda answered. "Different life. Different job. Same mission, teach whoever's willing." "What happened?" "Life happened," she said simply. "But that doesn't erase what I know." Lucas swallowed. "Then give me one thing. Just one secret that makes this easier." Linda picked up the mop and wrung out the water. She rested the handle across her palms like a baton. "Start from 0. Every time. Not from your father's name. Not from your fear. not from pride. Start at the first blank line and build. Lucas let the words sink in. And if I start from 0 and still fail? Then we find out why you fell short. We don't dramatize it. We don't bury it. We study it and fix it. The first bell rang. Doors along the corridor opened. Students spilled out, filling the hallway with chatter. Lucas swung his backpack over one shoulder. If I show up tomorrow and you're gone, this ends. Linda locked eyes with him. I'll be here. 6:45. This hallway. Bring a notebook. He hesitated. And what do I tell my dad when he asks who's helping me? Tell him you're finally helping yourself, she said. That won't impress him. Impressing him isn't the goal, Linda replied. Becoming ready is. He gave a tight nod. 6:45 then. On time, she said, picking up the mop. Lucas started down the hall but paused. What do I even call you? Ms. James? Linda will do, she said. And you? Lucas. His voice carried less arrogance this time, more honesty. She nodded once. Leave your last name outside tomorrow. It's too loud. A group of freshmen ran past, glancing at Lucas's tense posture. He zipped his bag fully closed and turned toward class. As he walked away, Linda's voice followed him, calm and certain. Ask better questions, Lucas. That's how you win the real tests. He didn't respond, but his shoulders straightened. Behind him, Linda dipped the mop into clean water and drew long strokes across the tiles. The dirty water faded, replaced by a clear shine that caught the light. At the end of the corridor, Lucas paused at the drinking fountain. He pulled out the paper, flipped it, and added one more line under his earlier notes. Maybe I'm not finished. Maybe this is the start. He tucked the page back carefully, checked the clock, and whispered to himself, 6:45. Then he walked into class, not lighter, but sharper, as though one door had cracked open and dared him to step through. The hallway smelled of floor wax and faint coffee. Morning light pushed through tall windows, striping the lockers with pale gold. It was earlier than most students ever arrived. Lucas Crane walked fast, his sneakers squeaking on the polished tiles. He checked the clock above the main office. 6:44. He stopped at the corner, caught his breath, then moved into the East Hall. Linda James was already there. The mop leaned against the wall, her bucket tucked neatly to the side. She held a folded sheet of paper in her hands. You came, she said without surprise. You said 6:45, Lucas answered. I figured you meant it. Linda handed him the paper. Read this paragraph. Out loud. He unfolded it. A short excerpt described factory smoke, crowded apartments, and young musicians turning noise into rhythm. Lucas read steadily, tripping only once. His voice echoed in the empty corridor. Linda listened with her arms crossed. Now tell me what it means. It's about the Great Migration again, he said. How moving north changed the way people lived. That's what it says, she replied. But meaning is more than summary. What truth hides between those lines? He frowned. Truth. Yes. The author wrote about smoke and music in the same breath. Why do you think? Lucas looked back at the page. Maybe because the ugliness of factories and the beauty of music were connected. People worked in noise all day, so they created a different kind of noise at night. Something their own. Linda's eyes sharpened. That's an argument. Not just a repeat. Keep going. Lucas shifted his weight. So, maybe the factories didn't just give jobs. They gave people a reason to make music. To prove they were more than machines. A small smile tugged at her lips. Now you're thinking like a writer. Do you feel the difference? He nodded reluctantly. Feels less like guessing. It's not guessing, she said. It's connecting dots. The facts don't live alone. They live in patterns. Your job is to see them. Lucas folded the paper. That sounds harder than memorizing definitions. It is harder, she admitted, but it sticks. What you fight to understand becomes yours forever. No one can take it from you. The word struck him. He thought of his father's voice. Everything can be taken from you if you don't prove you deserve it. He pushed the thought away. So what do I do with this? Another test won't ask about smoke and music. Linda leaned on the lockers. The next test will ask you to connect causes and effects. Now you know how. That's the point. Lucas hesitated, then pulled his notebook from his bag. He opened to a blank page. Should I write it down? Yes, Linda said simply. He scribbled. Factories gave more than jobs. They created a need for expression. Music was survival. Linda glanced at the line. Good. Now write what that makes you feel. What it makes me feel? He asked. That's not schoolwork. It's learning, she corrected. Thought without feeling is dust. Feeling without thought is fire with no shape. You need both. Lucas exhaled, then wrote slowly. It makes me feel like pressure can make art. Like maybe failure could too. He closed the notebook quickly, embarrassed. Linda didn't ask to see it. She just nodded. That's enough for today. He looked at her, surprised. That's it? One spark is enough to start a fire, she said. Too much too fast burns out. The second bell rang down the hall. Students began to appear, laughing, shoving, opening lockers. Lucas shoved his notebook into his bag. As he turned to leave, Linda called after him. Tomorrow, bring something you choose to read. Not what the school gives you. Your choice. He nodded once. All right, I'll bring something. She lifted her mop and dipped it into the bucket. Then we'll see what kind of fire you carry. Lucas walked toward class. His steps felt different. Not lighter, not heavier, but steadier, like each one mattered more. At the corner, he glanced back. Linda was already mopping the floor in calm, precise strokes. For the first time, he realized she didn't just erase dirt. She carved order out of chaos. And maybe, just maybe, she could do the same for him. The next morning, the hallway was nearly silent. A thin fog clung outside the windows, making the light dimmer, softer. Lucas Crane walked with a book pressed flat against his chest, his fingers tightening on its cover as though it might slip away. Linda James was already there, bucket parked neatly, mop leaning upright. She was checking her gloves when she noticed him. You brought something, she said. Lucas nodded, holding out the book. The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. She raised an eyebrow. Why this one? He shrugged, uncomfortable. It was on my father's shelf. He probably never touched it. Linda took the book, weighed it in her palm, then handed it back. Heavy choice. Did you read any yet? First chapter last night, Lucas admitted. I didn't get all of it. That's why we're here, she said. Open to a page that stopped you. Lucas flipped through, stopping at a section about invisibility, about being unseen in plain sight. He cleared his throat and read aloud. His voice echoed faintly against the lockers. Linda listened without blinking. What do you think he meant? That people ignore him, Lucas said quickly. That he doesn't exist to them. That's summary, she replied. What does it mean to you? Lucas shifted his weight, eyes lowering to the page. It means, I get it. I walk into a room, and everyone notices the last name, not me. It's like I'm not even a person. Just a headline. For a moment the words felt too honest. He gripped the book tighter, as if ready to pull them back. Linda's voice was steady. But that's the connection. The author felt invisible for one reason. You feel invisible for another. But the truth is the same. People refuse to see what makes you real. Lucas swallowed, then asked, So what do I do with that? You write it, Linda said. Write until the page is heavier than the lie people believe about you. He pulled out his notebook. Right now. Right now, she confirmed. He leaned against the lockers and began scribbling. They see the cars, the money, the name. They don't see the fact I'm failing every class. They don't see how afraid I am every time my father calls. They don't see me. Maybe I don't let them. He stopped, staring at the words. His chest felt tight. Linda stepped closer. That's your voice. Don't run from it. Feels weak, he muttered. It feels true, she corrected. Truth never weakens you. Hiding does. Lucas shut the notebook. And if my father sees this? He'll laugh. Linda shook her head. Then he's blind by choice. But you'll still know you spoke honestly. That's stronger than silence. The hallway buzzed faintly as a few early students arrived, their sneakers squeaking against the waxed floor. None of them looked twice at Lucas and Linda. To them, it was just a boy standing near the janitor. Lucas felt the difference. Yesterday he had been ashamed of that picture. Today it didn't sting as much. He tucked the book back into his bag. "So tomorrow I bring another page?" "No," Linda said. "Tomorrow, you bring a question. One that scares you. A question? Yes. A real one. Not about grades or homework. Something you want answered but never dared to ask." Lucas hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I think I can do that." Linda picked up the mop and dipped it into clean water. "But, because learning isn't about answers. It's about daring to ask." He turned to go, but stopped halfway down the hall. "Linda." She looked up. "Thanks for not treating me like a failure," he said. Her response was simple, but her tone carried weight. "You're not a failure. You're a student. Don't confuse the two." Lucas walked toward his first class, the book pressing against his back inside the bag, heavier than it had ever felt before. Behind him, Linda pushed the mop forward, one clean line at a time, as though clearing a path he hadn't yet learned to walk. By the time the sun slipped over the gym roof, Lucas Crane was already in the east hallway with a notebook under his arm. The clock above the office clicked to 6:45. He did not look at the clock again. He looked down the corridor, waiting. Linda James rounded the corner with her cart. The bucket sloshed once. She parked it beside the lockers and wiped her gloves on a towel. "You brought the question," she said. "I brought two," Lucas replied. "One that sounds smart and one that scares me. Start with the honest one." He opened the notebook and read without ornament. "How do I become someone if every room decides who I am before I speak?" Linda leaned the mop against the locker. "That question has teeth." "Good. It feels like it swallows everything else." "It should," she said. "Big questions force small decisions. Now turn it." "Turn it how?" "Change the verb. How do I become someone becomes, what will I do today to become someone?" Questions are powerful when they make your feet move. Lucas wrote as she spoke, "What will I do today to become someone without the last name doing the talking?" Linda nodded toward the blank space beneath. "Answer in 3 lines. Action. Proof." He wrote slowly. Action. Ask one real question in class that risks being wrong. Time. Before lunch. Proof. Write 3 sentences after about what happened. She watched his pen. Now test it. Say it aloud. He read his plan cleanly. No mumbling. "Good," she said. "Now the other question. The one that pretends to be brave." Lucas turned a page. "What is the interplay between socioeconomic status and educational outcomes across?" "Stop," Linda said, raising a palm. "That is a costume. It hides the fear." He closed the notebook. "I thought big words might make me sound like I belong." "Big words are tools, not shields," she said. "Use them when they cut cleaner, not when they dull the point." He nodded once. "Then I will ask the first question in history today." "You will not wait for permission," Linda added. "You will raise your hand before the teacher asks for volunteers, and you will speak like you mean it." Lucas took a breath, then another. "I can do that." "You will do that," she corrected. A door opened at the far end. Custodial clatter echoed, then settled. The hallway remained theirs. Linda pulled a folder from the cart and handed him a single sheet. "Read this excerpt from Ida B. Wells. Mark the sentence that snaps you awake." Lucas scanned the page, underlined a line about naming the wrong that others ignore, and tapped it with his finger. "This one. The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them." "What does that line demand from you?" Linda asked. "Not from a textbook, from you." "It demands that I stop hiding behind the last name," he said. "It demands that I ask my question even if people roll their eyes." "Then say the line again with your name in it." Lucas met her eyes. "My way to right this wrong is to turn the light on myself and ask out loud." "Now you have the assignment," she said. "Do you have the courage?" He drew a breath and answered with a full sentence. "I have enough courage to stand up at least once." "Enough is where we begin," Linda said. She dipped the mop and pressed clean water into the tile. One more thing. Your voice will shake. That is not failure. That is the sound of courage starting. He cracked a brief smile. You always know what will happen. I do not predict, she said. I prepare. The first bell rang. Students began to trickle in from the parking lot. Lucas slid the notebook into his bag and tightened the strap. I will find you after class, he said. You will find your 3 sentences, Linda replied. Bring those. He walked away with purposeful steps. Second period history carried the weight he expected. Mr. Peregrine wrote dates on the board and asked a safe question about the Great Migration. Lucas raised his hand before the chalk stopped moving. Mr. Crane, the teacher said, surprised. Go ahead. Lucas stood. He did not rehearse. He remembered the hallway. I have a question about cause and effect. We talk about jobs and safety as reasons to move north, but we rarely ask what the city created in return. If factories gave wages and took voices, did the music people made after shifts become a kind of answer to the machines? And if that is true, should we read the music as history, not just culture? The room shifted. A few students sat forward. One kid rolled his eyes. Lucas did not address him. Mr. Peregrine tapped the chalk tray. That is a fair question. Yes, we can read music as a source. We should. The migration changed more than addresses. It changed the sound of the country. Lucas felt the shake in his knees and kept his stance anyway. Then for the essay next week, may I argue that the stage was a second kind of factory, producing identity instead of goods? Write it and defend it, Mr. Peregrine said. If you support it, you will earn the grade. Lucas sat down. His pulse slowed. He wrote the time in his notebook and a single line. I asked the question and the floor did not open. At lunch he ducked into the side hall and scribbled the rest of his promise. Students listened. One scoffed. I did not fold. I will write the argument tonight. The day did not end with applause. It ended with William Crane waiting in the foyer, a trimmed headline in his hand, the old F circled in red again. He did not wave the paper. He held it like a contract. Explain this pattern, William said, voice even. I am changing the pattern, Lucas answered. Today I asked the first real question I have asked in months. I asked for results, William said. You are handing me intentions. I will hand you the paper next week, Lucas replied. I will show you the work. William studied him. Which tutor engineered this new courage? No tutor engineered it, Lucas said. I started at 6:45 with a notebook and a clean page. Who stood there with you? William pressed. A person who asked for nothing and demanded honesty, Lucas said. That is all I will say. William's jaw set. You may keep your mystery for now. But know this. I invest in progress, not stories. I am tired of stories, Lucas said calmly. I am building proof. William did not move. After a beat he stepped aside and let his son pass. Bring me something I can believe. I will bring you a page you cannot ignore, Lucas said, and walked to his room. Evening poured out quietly. Lucas cleared his desk and wrote a title in the center of a fresh sheet. Factories, Stages, and the Sound of Becoming. He opened the Ellison novel for a sentence that had marked him, then pushed it away. He did not need a shield today. He needed a spine. He wrote a claim. Industrial noise pushed people to make a different kind of noise that restored what the line had stripped: voice, pride, and agency. Music became public study, a classroom with a horn and a drum. He built a paragraph around the claim with evidence from class notes and a line from Ida B. Wells. He kept the sentences clean. He did not try to sound like anyone else. At 9:30 he closed the notebook and set his 3 lunchtime sentences on top, as Linda had asked. He looked at the clock, then at the hallway through his window. He pictured a mop gliding clean lines through stale air. He pictured tomorrow. Before sleep, he texted a single line to his own number so it would be there in the morning. Ask before the bell. He set the phone face down and turned off the light. At 6:44 the next morning, Lucas stood at the corner again. Linda turned the corridor with her cart as if pulled on a track. I did what you asked, he said. You did what you promised yourself, she replied. He handed her the 3 sentences and a page beneath them. Here is the proof. She read in silence, eyes moving left to right with deliberate pace. When she finished, she tapped the margin once. This is the first paragraph that sounds like you. It did not feel easy, he said. But it felt right. Easy is not the metric, Linda said. True is. He nodded and slid the page back into the notebook. What next? Next you repeat, she said. We do not celebrate on step 2. We take step 3. I will ask again today, he said. I will write again tonight. Now you are becoming someone, Linda said. She dipped the mop and pressed the water into the tile. Let the floor remember you were here. Students began to trickle in. The hallway lost its hush. Lucas adjusted his bag strap and squared his shoulders. I will see you after second period, he said. You will see your next question, Linda answered. Bring that. He walked into the flow of the morning with a plan that fit in a sentence, and a sentence that fit in his mouth. Behind him, the clean line lengthened. The tile held the shine. The essay sat on Mr. Peregrine's desk for 3 days. Lucas checked each class, pretending not to care, though his pulse jumped whenever the teacher lifted a stack of papers. On Thursday afternoon, the bundle finally landed in front of him. He slid his copy out. At the top, a bold B+ stretched across the page. Beneath it in neat ink, strong argument. Voice emerging. Keep building. Lucas stared until the letters blurred. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't pity either. It was earned. When the bell rang, he folded the paper carefully and walked straight to the east hallway. Linda James was scrubbing a mark near the vending machine. She looked up, saw the folded sheet in his hand, and raised an eyebrow. Well? Lucas handed it over. She unfolded, scanned the grade, then the comment. A faint smile pressed her lips. B+, she said. Not survival. Not charity. Work. I didn't think I could do it, Lucas admitted. Not without someone holding my hand the whole time. You didn't need a hand, Linda said. You needed a mirror. You saw yourself in those sentences. He leaned against the lockers. It feels different. Heavy but good heavy. Linda returned the paper. That weight is ownership. Don't drop it. Lucas tucked the essay into his notebook. So what now? Now you stop staring at grades like they're crowns, she said. You start writing because you have something to say. He exhaled slowly. I think I do. Then prove it tomorrow, Linda said. Bring me 1 page, not about history, not about assignments. About you. Write the line you've never said aloud. Lucas frowned. That sounds harder than any essay. That's why it matters, she said. That evening, Lucas sat at his desk. The essay lay to the side. He opened a fresh sheet and stared at it for 20 minutes. Finally he wrote, I am afraid that without the last name, I am nothing. I act arrogant so no one sees I don't know who I am. I hate mirrors because they show someone hollow. I want to believe I can be more than that. He stopped. The page shook in his hand. He folded it twice and slid it into his bag. Morning brought the usual fog along the windows. Lucas found Linda polishing the east hall. He handed her the folded page without speaking. She read quickly. Her eyes didn't soften, but they didn't harden either. She looked at him directly. This is the first true thing you've written, she said. And you survived the ink. Lucas swallowed. I almost tore it up. But you didn't, she said. And that is growth. She folded the page once more and gave it back. Keep it. That truth belongs to you. Lucas tucked it away. What do I do with it? Use it as fuel, Linda answered. Every time fear whispers, you remind yourself you've already named it. He nodded. The fear felt smaller, not gone, but named. That night, William Crane summoned him to the study. The room reeked of cigar smoke and polished leather. A single paper waited on the desk. Lucas's progress report, with recent grades circled. William tapped the page. B+. Improvement, but not victory. It's the first step, Lucas said evenly. I don't buy steps, William said. I buy results. Who is responsible for the shift? Another tutor? No tutor, Lucas replied. Just effort. William's eyes narrowed. Effort does not appear overnight. Someone's feeding you lines. I'm feeding myself, Lucas said. Don't insult me, William snapped. Name the hand behind this, or I cut the allowance again. Lucas straightened. If you cut it, I'll still show up at 6:45 with a notebook. You can't buy that away. Silence stretched across the room. William studied his son as if facing a stranger. Finally he said, if you want my respect, prove consistency. 1 essay is chance. 10 essays are change. Lucas held his ground. Then I'll write 10. William leaned back. We'll see. The next morning, Lucas told Linda everything. She listened, mop still in her hand. He wants 10 essays, Lucas said bitterly. As if the first doesn't count. Linda dipped the mop, pressed it into the floor. He's testing your endurance. Will you write for yourself, or for his approval? I don't know, Lucas admitted. Decide, she said firmly. Because if you chase his nod, you'll break. But if you chase your voice, you'll last. Lucas nodded slowly. Then I'll write for me. But I'll still hand him the pages. Good, Linda said. Let him read the truth he never wanted. Each page will cut sharper than silence. Lucas felt a fire stir in his chest. Then I'll start tonight. Start now, Linda corrected. She handed him a clean sheet. Write the first line before you walk to class. He leaned on the locker, pen scratching, machines built steel. Words build me. He looked at the line, then at her. That's the seed, Linda said. Protect it. Grow it. Don't let him rip it out. The bell rang. Students crowded the hall. Lucas folded the paper and slid it into his bag. He walked into the noise not as the billionaire's son, but as a boy carrying a sentence of his own. Behind him, Linda's mop slid across the tiles, steady as always, drawing clean lines in the chaos. Lucas filled 3 pages before the weekend. Each one raw, shaky, but alive. He wrote at night when the house was silent and handed them to Linda each morning. She never praised quickly. She read, underlined, returned. On Monday, she stopped him mid-hallway. These are drafts. You're circling the truth but not cutting into it. Try again. Lucas frowned. They're honest. Honest isn't enough, she said. Clarity is the blade. Honesty is just the handle. He flipped open the notebook. What's missing? Precision, Linda replied. You say you feel pressure. Describe it so strong I can feel it on my own chest. Lucas chewed his pen, then wrote. Pressure is my father's stare across the dinner table, the kind that makes knives heavy and food taste like chalk. Linda tapped the line. Now you're writing. He exhaled. It drains me. It should, she said. Writing truth is labor. Keep digging. By Wednesday he had 5 essays. His history teacher noticed. During class, Mr. Peregrine paused after Lucas answered a question with depth. You've been preparing differently, the teacher said. Lucas felt eyes on him but didn't flinch. I'm learning to write what I mean, not what sounds safe. A murmur spread through the class. Some smirked, some looked curious. The teacher only nodded. Afterward, one student caught him in the hallway. Since when do you care? Lucas zipped his bag. Since I got tired of being invisible in plain sight. The student stared, then walked away, unsure how to respond. That evening, William Crane called him into the study again. 10 candles glowed on the mantel though the room needed none. You've brought 5 essays, William said. I read them. A mix of decent and indulgent. Lucas kept his voice steady. They're mine. They lack polish, William said. A tutor could refine them. No tutor, Lucas answered. I need the mistakes to see what's real. William tapped his desk. Business doesn't reward raw. It rewards sharp. This isn't business, Lucas said quietly. William's eyes narrowed. Everything is business. Lucas left the room with the essays still in his bag. The next morning he met Linda at their hallway corner. He told her about the exchange. He called them indulgent, Lucas muttered. Did it break you? She asked. No. Then it worked, Linda said. Your father gave you a test. You passed by keeping your pen in your hand. Lucas looked at her steadily. What if he's right? What if they are indulgent? Then indulge the truth until it scares the walls, she replied. Better a raw page than a polished lie. Lucas let the words settle. They felt heavier than the essays themselves. Essay 7 came on Friday. This one bled faster. I act like I own the hallway, but I'm terrified every time I open my locker, afraid someone will see the emptiness inside. Linda underlined the whole line in red. That is spine. Keep it. Essay 8 arrived Sunday. Money built the house, but it did not build a home. Silence sits thicker than furniture. Linda circled, silence. This line can teach more than any lecture. Essay 9 dragged out of him Monday night. Sometimes I think my father wants an heir, not a son. I wonder if he knows the difference. Linda read it twice. She set the page down slowly. That's not just writing. That's confrontation. Lucas's voice cracked. Will it change anything? It already changed you, she said. That's enough for now. Essay 10 came hardest. Lucas stayed up until dawn Tuesday morning, rewriting lines until his hand ached. He carried the final copy folded tight when he met Linda. He handed it to her without a word. She unfolded it. The first line read, "Greatness doesn't come from the name carved on the door but from the voice that survives after the door closes." She read the whole page silently, then folded it carefully and gave it back. "Now you've written your own compass." Lucas clutched the paper. "So this is the proof?" "No," Linda said. "This is the beginning. Proof is when you live it, not just write it." He nodded slowly. "Then I'll live it." That evening, William waited in the study again. The 10 essays lay stacked on the desk. He had read them. "These are unexpected," William admitted. "You found a voice. Rough, but present." Lucas stood tall. "It's my voice. Not bought, not borrowed." William tapped the top essay. "And if this voice refuses business? If it ruins the Crane name?" Lucas met his eyes. "Then it saves me." For a rare moment, William said nothing. His jaw tightened, but he did not push further. He gestured toward the door. "Go. We'll revisit this." Lucas left, the stack still on the desk, his chest pounding but unbroken. The next morning, Linda greeted him with her mop and quiet eyes. "So." "He didn't praise, but he didn't cut me down either," Lucas said. "Progress," Linda replied. "Small but real." Lucas exhaled. "It feels like carrying a weight. But maybe it's the right weight." Linda dipped the mop and drew a clean line across the floor. "Then carry it. It will build you stronger than luxury ever did." Lucas pressed his notebook against his chest. For the first time, the hall didn't feel like a cage. It felt like a forge. The next morning arrived with a colder light. Condensation fogged half the windows, leaving streaks that looked like fingerprints across the glass. Lucas Crane turned the corner into the east hallway with his notebook ready. 6:45 blinked on the office clock. Linda James pushed her cart into place and set the mop against the lockers. She wore the same navy uniform, the same yellow gloves, the same steady gaze. "You kept the pen moving," she said, reading his posture before she read a page. "I did more than write," Lucas answered. "Someone asked how I pulled off 10 essays. I want to try something." "Say what you intend," Linda replied. "I intend to show one other person the 3-line method," Lucas said. "No speeches. No performance. One actual session." Linda pulled a small stack of blank half-sheets from her apron pocket. Each had 3 words printed at the top in neat letters. "Ask no, find." She handed him 2. "You just promoted yourself from student to guide. The rules do not change. You ask, they do the lifting." Footsteps approached. A girl from Lucas's literature class slowed when she saw them. She carried a binder tucked tight under her arm and a doubt that sat plainly on her face. "Are you meeting her for tutoring?" she asked. "This is not tutoring," Lucas said. "It is learning with a shovel." The girl blinked. "A shovel?" "You dig until you hit something real," Lucas said. "If you want to try, pick a question and earn your breakfast." Linda gave the girl a blank card. "Name?" "Maya," she said, almost apologizing for being there. "Write the test question that keeps biting you," Linda said. "Top line." Maya wrote a line with a trembling pen. Explain how a single symbol in The Invisible Man shapes the narrator's identity. Good, Lucas said. Now write what you know for sure. Maya chewed her lip and wrote. The briefcase follows him everywhere and becomes a burden he still carries. Now write what you need to find, Lucas said. One clear gap. Maya wrote slower. How the briefcase changes from opportunity to trap. Linda nodded toward Lucas. Guide, not savior. Lucas looked at Maya. Open the book to the first scene with the briefcase and mark the moment it felt like a prize. Then mark the first moment it felt like weight. When you can name those 2 points, the essay has bones. Maya flipped pages with quick, careful hands. Here, she said, tapping a passage. He treats it like proof that he belongs. Later he cannot throw it away even when it slows him down. Say that to yourself as a claim, Lucas said. One complete sentence. Maya breathed in. The briefcase starts as permission and ends as prison. Linda's eyes lifted. Now you have a line that can carry a paragraph. Maya stared at the sentence as if it had written itself. I can build on this before class. You can build on this for years, Linda said. When you forget the trick, the card reminds you. Ask, no, find. Maya folded the half sheet and slid it into her binder. I never knew it could feel like this. It feels like you pulled a wire and the light came on, Lucas said. Remember that feeling and chase it. The first bell rang. Maya started down the hall, then doubled back. Same time tomorrow? Same hallway, Lucas said. Bring one question you refuse to ignore. Maya nodded and disappeared into the swell of students. A pair of boys from the basketball team drifted by. One slowed, taking in the mop bucket, the half-sheets and Lucas's notebook. You running janitor seminars now? I am running a thinking drill, Lucas said evenly. You are welcome to try it if you want to do more than repeat what the textbook says. The boy laughed and kept walking, but he looked back twice. When the hallway cleared again, Linda passed Lucas a fresh half-sheet. You led without preaching. That matters. I kept wanting to give her the answer, Lucas admitted. It felt wrong to hold back. You did not hold back, Linda said. You held the door. The walking belonged to her. By second period history, whispers had reached the back row. A student leaned across to Lucas. People say you meet the janitor at dawn and read novels off the floor. We read the page, not the floor, Lucas said. And we write something we can defend. Mr. Peregrine entered with a box of documents. He set it down and wrote primary sources, newspapers, songs, flyers across the board. I will run a short exercise, he said. Pick one artifact and argue what it reveals about a neighborhood during the Great Migration. Hands shot up. Lucas raised his too. Mr. Peregrine nodded to him first, curious. May I treat a club flyer as a civic document? Lucas asked. Not as entertainment but as proof of how a community declared itself in public? Mr. Peregrine smiled with the kind of surprise that does not mock. Just treat it as a public letter. Support the claim with details. A boy in the corner scoffed. Crane thinks he discovered jazz. Lucas stayed facing the front. I think the city discovered itself by writing invitations nobody else would print. Mr. Peregrine clapped once. That sentence belongs in your draft. Keep it. At lunch, Maya found him near the stairs. I gave the teacher my claim. She said it sounded like thinking, not reciting. Good, Lucas said. Now prove it line by line. 2 other students hovered nearby, pretending not to wait. One finally stepped forward. My name is Ethan. I heard you have a method. I brought the worst paragraph I have written. Show me, Lucas said, taking the paper. He scanned 3 vague sentences stacked like empty boxes. He passed Ethan a half-sheet. Write the question, write what you know, and write what you need to find. We can spend 10 minutes tomorrow before the bell. You will leave with something you can stand on. Ethan nodded with a relief that looked foreign on his face. I can show up, he said, and then corrected himself with more spine. I will show up. That evening, the Crane foyer smelled like new cut flowers and money. William stood at the base of the staircase with a glass of water and a tight line carved where a smile never lived. You have built a schedule before dawn, he said. Explain what you get from this ritual. I get momentum, Lucas said. I get a grip on the day before it decides what to do with me. Do you also get gossip about our name? William asked. Or do you keep those sessions invisible like a side door? I do not trade family for clout, Lucas answered. I trade confusion for clarity. William studied him. You sound prepared. That tone can be useful. I sound like someone who wrote 10 essays and kept going, Lucas said. I intend to write 10 more. William set the glass down on the banister. Bring me the grade that matches the tone. I will bring you the work that deserves the grade, Lucas said, and walked to his room before the conversation looped back into the old orbit. At 6:43 the next morning, 3 students waited at the east hallway corner. Maya hugged her binder. Ethan held a highlighter like a talisman. A third girl, Alina, stood with her jaw set as if daring herself to stay. Linda parked the cart and handed each of them a half-sheet. No crowd. No show. 1 question per person. The method does not change. Lucas lifted his notebook. We will choose 1 example in each of your texts and do the same 3 steps. You will leave with 1 sentence you can build on tonight. They sat on the floor against the lockers. Shoes squeaked nearby. A teacher's laugh floated down the hall. The building woke around them while the 4 of them carved a small room out of time. Alina went first with a paragraph from a speech. She stumbled, then caught herself. I think the speaker uses the train as a symbol because travel carries the cost of leaving home. Remove, I think, and give that thought a spine, Lucas said. Say it like you mean it. Alina straightened. The train is a symbol for the price of escape. That is a sentence that can work, Linda said, steering the mop around them without breaking focus. Now attach 1 fact to that sentence so it stands upright. Alina quoted a line. The sentence held. Ethan followed with a flyer analysis. Maya followed with her briefcase claim polished into a paragraph. They wrote fast, crossed out faster, and replaced guesses with decisions. The second bell rang. They stood in a rush and collected their books. Same time tomorrow, Maya said, already moving. Same time, Lucas confirmed. Bring the next question. Ethan took a breath that sounded like relief. I will bring 2. Bring courage for 1 and patience for the other, Linda said, wiping a last arc of water into the tile's shine. There is time for both. Students filled the corridor. The little circle dissolved into the flow of the day, but the shape of it lingered. A quiet room that did not need walls. Lucas slid his notebook into his bag and glanced at the new stack of half-sheets in Linda's hand. We might need more of those, he said. I cut another set last night, Linda replied. The copier and I are on speaking terms. Lucas smiled without apology. We are building something that I can feel, even if it does not have a name yet. It does not need a name to work, Linda said. It needs rules and people who show up. I will keep showing up, Lucas said. I will keep asking out loud. Then the work will keep you, Linda answered, drawing 1 last clean line down the center of the hall. Let the floor remember that you were here. By the 2nd week, the east hallway was no longer silent at dawn. 4, then 5 students showed up with binders and questions. Lucas guided them through Linda's half-sheets while she worked the mop in slow arcs that looked casual but carried authority. On Tuesday morning, the assistant principal appeared at the corner, clipboard tucked under her arm. She watched the group from a distance, then called Lucas into her office after first period. The blinds were half-drawn. The air smelled faintly of lemon polish and formality. Sit, she said without warmth. Lucas sat. His notebook rested on his knees, closed but ready. I've received calls, the assistant principal began. Parents are asking why their children spend mornings with janitorial staff instead of certified instructors. Lucas steadied his voice. They are not skipping class. They come before the bell. We write, we think. That is all. That is not all, she said firmly. This is unapproved. It creates perception problems. If parents believe the school cannot meet academic needs, we lose trust. Maybe you should ask why their children feel the need to show up early in the first place, Lucas replied. They want to learn. Her eyes sharpened. Mr. Crane, your name is known in this city. I advise you not to attach it to activities that could be misinterpreted. Lucas leaned forward. Then give it approval. Make it official. This is not a negotiation, she snapped. Cease the sessions or there will be consequences. Lucas's pulse thumped in his throat. Consequences for whom? For you, she said. And for Miss James. She is employed as custodial staff, not instructional staff. The words landed like stone. Lucas's jaw tightened. She teaches because she knows how, not because of a contract. The assistant principal set the clipboard down with a deliberate tap. End it or I will escalate. Lucas walked out of the office with the warning burning in his ears. He found Linda in the East Hall, replacing a mop head. They're coming after us, he said low. They told me to shut it down. Linda didn't flinch. Of course they did. Systems do not attack what fails. They attack what works. They said it could cost you your job, Lucas pressed. Linda looked at him directly. I knew that the first day I answered your question instead of ignoring it. You're not afraid? I am always aware, Linda said. But fear is not my steering wheel. Lucas clenched his fist. I can talk to my father. He could make calls, pressure them to back off. Linda shook her head. If you do that, they will say the janitor borrowed power from a billionaire's son. They will erase your voice before it grows teeth. Do you want that? No, Lucas admitted. I want them to hear me, not just his money. Then keep showing up, Linda said. Truth spreads quieter than rumor but lasts longer. That evening, William Crane intercepted his son in the foyer. The study doors stood open, light spilling across the marble floor. I received a message, William said without preamble. The school claims you are stirring unsanctioned gatherings with a custodian. Explain yourself. Lucas held his ground. We meet before class. We ask questions. We learn. No one skips. No one cheats. This is not about cheating, William said. It is about reputation. My reputation. I do not bankroll a school to see my son huddled on tile floors with mop water at his shoes. Lucas's voice hardened. Maybe you should bankroll a school that cares less about image and more about teaching. William's eyes narrowed to slits. Watch your tongue. That woman cleans. She does not teach. Lucas stepped closer. She teaches more than any expensive tutor you ever hired. She gives us tools, not handouts. Do you realize what you risk? William snapped. They could expel you. They could fire her. They could drag our name into whispers we do not need. I risk because it matters, Lucas said. And if our name cannot survive truth, then maybe it isn't worth much. William's jaw locked. Do not test me. Lucas's chest rose, steady but fierce. I am not testing you. I am learning how to stand. Silence hung, sharp as glass. William turned away, ending the conversation with his back. Dinner is in 20 minutes. Do not be late. The next morning, 3 students still came, even after whispers spread. Maya carried her half-sheet, Ethan his notebook, Alina her folded flyer analysis. Lucas laid the papers on the floor. We keep working. Same rules. Same time. If someone wants to stop us, they can watch us learn. Linda moved her mop with precise strokes. Eyes forward. Pens ready. No one can erase effort you already made. Maya bit her lip. My mom asked why I'm doing this. I didn't know what to say. Tell her you are building muscle where the school left gaps, Lucas said. Tell her you finally feel your own brain working. Ethan looked at Linda. If they fire you, they will not erase what you already know, Linda cut in. They can only take uniforms, not the words inside you. Alina straightened. Then I'll write louder. Good, Linda said. Louder is the right direction. The bell rang. They scattered into the flow of students, holding their notebooks like shields. Lucas lingered a moment. They want to stop this. Linda wrung out the mop. Then it means we are planting seeds. No one weeds ground that grows nothing. Lucas picked up his bag. Then let them come. I'm not moving. He walked to class with his shoulders squared, carrying not just his own voice but the echo of 3 more. By Thursday the hallway felt like a small classroom with invisible walls. For students had become 6. They arrived with binders already open, pencils ready, eyes focused. Linda James rolled her cart into place and set the mop aside as if it were a bell to start. Lucas Crane handed out the half-sheets with the 3 words at the top. Ask, no, find. Same rule, Lucas said. You bring the question. We build the spine. Maya lifted a paragraph on symbolism. Ethan brought a crooked thesis on housing covenants. Alina carried a line from a speech that would not stand up. They worked in short bursts. Linda moved the mop in tidy arcs around the circle, never interrupting, always hearing. Halfway through the session, the assistant principal appeared at the corner. She did not step closer. She watched the pens move and the heads lean. Her clipboard stayed tight to her chest. When the bell rang, she turned away without a word. Lucas slipped his notebook into his bag. She will not ignore us for long. She already stopped ignoring, Linda said. The next step will not be a glance. Second period history brought the step. Mr. Peregrine stacked a set of broadsides and club flyers on the front table. We have an unscheduled school assembly in 20 minutes, he said. Until then, pick one artifact and write a claim about what it proves about its neighborhood. Lucas raised his hand first. May I treat the club flyer as a civic document again and argue that the invitation itself is a political act? You may, Mr. Peregrine said. Support it. Lucas wrote fast. He did not try to sound impressive. He anchored the claim in details and the line he had tested in the hallway. When the announcement crackled over the intercom, he underlined the sentence that mattered and closed the notebook. The auditorium filled with students, teachers, and a polite hum of boredom. The principal spoke about attendance. The counselor spoke about spring deadlines. Then the assistant principal stepped to the microphone. Before first period, several parents reached out with concerns, she said. We want to remind everyone that academic support happens through approved channels. Please do not create or join unsanctioned gatherings that could be misunderstood. Murmurs rolled through the room. Some students glanced toward the section where Lucas sat. He felt the air shift but kept his face still. When the floor opened for questions, a few students asked about schedules and bus routes. Lucas stood when the microphone reached his row. Lucas Crane, he said clearly. I have a question about the word unsanctioned. If students meet before the bell to read and write, and no one skips class, and the work improves, who is harmed? The room quieted. The principal held the neutral smile of someone who prefers not to answer. The assistant principal leaned forward. Good intentions can create confusion. If families believe the school cannot meet needs, our credibility suffers. Lucas looked toward the student sections rather than the stage. We are not hiding because the school cannot teach. We are practicing because learning takes more time than the bell gives. If you want credibility, measure it by how many students learn to ask real questions. A smattering of claps broke out, then stopped when teachers frowned. The microphone moved on. The assembly ended with a reminder about safety and a promise to review practices. In the crush of bodies flowing toward the doors, someone tapped Lucas's shoulder. It was a boy from the basketball team who had mocked the sessions. You said that like a person who knows the ground under his feet. I know because I have fallen there, Lucas said. You can show up tomorrow if you want to test it. The boy hesitated, then nodded once. I will think about it. By lunch a notice appeared on the staff door, custodial team meeting at 3:15. Linda read it without comment. Lucas saw her eyes narrow just enough to mark the wait. They plan a move, he said. Of course they do, Linda replied. They waited for a reason they can print. Then we answer with work, Lucas said. After the last bell, we do one open session in the east hallway. No speeches. No signs. 30 minutes of thinking in public. That will invite a response, Linda said. I want them to see what they are trying to shut, Lucas answered. Pens on paper. Nothing else. Keep it clean, Linda said. Keep it short. When they speak, you stop. I will stop when the clock hits 30, Lucas said. Not when they frown. The final bell rang. 6 students returned to the east hallway. Linda parked the cart. Lucas handed out half-sheets and set his watch. This is a demonstration, he said. We will not chant. We will not argue. We will do the method and leave. They sat on the floor with their backs to the lockers. Linda stood to the side with the mop like a quiet flagpole. They wrote lines that did not need applause. Maya turned her briefcase claim into a paragraph with evidence. Ethan cut the fog out of his thesis one word at a time. Alina attached a fact to her train symbol until the sentence held its own weight. 10 minutes in, the assistant principal arrived with a security aide. She waited at the edge of the circle. "Wrap it up," she said. "This is not permitted." Lucas did not look up. "We finish at the half hour." She stepped closer. "Stand now." Linda lifted the mop and set the head gently in the bucket. "They are writing. They will walk when they are done." "This is a directive," the assistant principal said. "You are out of your role." "My role is to keep floors clean," Linda said evenly. "That includes making room for work that cleans out confusion." The security aide shifted in place. The assistant principal radioed a brief message, then folded her arms and waited with the posture of a clock. At exactly 30 minutes, Lucas closed his notebook and stood. "Time." The circle rose as one. They stacked the half-sheets, nodded to Linda, and dispersed without noise. The hallway returned to ordinary. 2 hours later, a text reached Lucas from Maya. "They called Ms. James to the office." Another arrived from Ethan. "She has an envelope." Lucas sprinted back to the east wing. Linda stood by the supply closet with a white letter in her hand. Her face was steady. Her gloves were off. "What did they do?" he asked. "They placed me on administrative leave," she said. "They used the words policy review." Lucas felt the heat crawl up his throat. "They punished you for giving us pencils and time." "They punished me for making the floor look like a classroom," Linda said. "They prefer dirt you can see to questions you cannot control." "This is my fault," he said. "I spoke at the assembly. I staged today." "This is our choice," she corrected. "Do not drag the blame away from our agency." He stared at the envelope. "How long is the leave?" "They did not say," she answered. "They said they would contact me." "Let me call my father," he said. "He can reverse this with a single email." "No," Linda said, quick and firm. "If he moves the lever, they will erase the lesson. They will say you were a puppet. Do not salt your voice with money." He swallowed. "Then what do we do?" "You keep the door open at 6:45, she said. "The method does not belong to me. It belongs to anyone who shows up." "I cannot run it alone," he said. "Yes, you can," she replied. "You already did. Guide, do not preach. Ask, do not perform. Stop on the minute you promise." He fought the urge to argue. "Where will you go?" "I will go home," she said. "I will write a letter that puts the right words in the right order. Maybe someone will read it. Maybe they will not." "Will you come back?" he asked. "I come back by the work you continue," she said. "That is how teachers return when doors close." The assistant principal appeared again with the custodial supervisor. "Miss James, you may collect your personal items." Linda nodded and turned to the closet. She lifted a small canvas bag and a stack of half-sheets from the shelf. She placed the stack in Lucas's hands. "Cut more when these run out," she said. "Paper costs less than excuses." He clenched the cards. "I will keep the line straight." She glanced at the tile and smiled. "The floor already knows where to shine." They walked together to the side exit. The evening light came in low and flat. The supervisor held the door. Linda stepped into the hallway's echo one last time, then out into the air. Lucas stood with the half-sheets pressed to his chest. He watched the door close and heard the latch click. He did not move for a full minute. Then he pulled out his phone and typed a message to the small group. 6:45 still stands. Bring one question you refuse to let die. We will write the proof. He slid the phone into his pocket, looked down the empty corridor, and said the sentence out loud to the tiles, because the tiles had listened before anyone else did. I will show up. He turned, found the locker edge that had served as his first desk, and wrote tomorrow's plan on a fresh card. Ask, what changed in me when the room pushed back? No, I stood and spoke. Find the next sentence that holds. He tucked the card into his notebook and walked toward the exit. The floor held a thin line of clean shine where Linda had passed that morning. He placed his foot on the line and followed it out. The next morning the east hallway felt hollow. No mop, no cart, no quiet hum. Just Lucas with a stack of half-sheets pressed flat under his arm. He checked his watch. 6:42. 3 minutes until the test. Maya arrived first, clutching her notebook. She's really gone? Lucas nodded. Administrative leave. No date, no promise. Ethan and Alina came next. The boy from the basketball team trailed behind, hesitant but present. They formed a loose circle against the lockers. Lucas set the stack on the floor. We said 6:45 still stands. That means we write. No one's exempt because she isn't here. Maya's voice wavered. But what if they're watching? Lucas unfolded the top sheet. Then let them watch. Truth doesn't hide. He wrote the 3 words in thick strokes. Ask, find. He slid the sheet to the center. 1 question each. That's the rule. Alina whispered, I don't think I can without her. You can, Lucas said. We're not copying her. We're proving she planted something that grows on its own. They stared at him. He inhaled slowly. I'll start. Ask, why does losing a guide make silence louder? No, because silence now has weight. Find, a sentence that carries the weight forward. He scribbled. Silence feels like a missing note that turns the whole song sharp. Maya looked down at her blank page, then began. Ask, why did my mother stay in a job that crushed her voice? No, because she thought stability would feed us. Find, a line. Stability without hope is a cage with wallpaper. Ethan followed, pencil trembling. Ask, why do I pretend I understand history when I don't? No, because fear of looking ignorant is stronger than curiosity. Find, a line. Ignorance is not empty, it is crowded with shame. The circle filled with scratch of lead. For 10 minutes they wrote without interruption. The hallway hummed with their own sound. At 7 o'clock, the assistant principal appeared at the corner again. Arms folded, eyes sharp. This ends today, she said. Lucas raised his voice but not his volume. We stop when the clock says 7:15. That was the promise. You are not authorized. No one needs authorization to think, Lucas replied. The assistant principal glared. Every word you write puts Ms. James further from this building. Lucas met her eyes. No. Every word we write proves she never left. The bell rang 15 minutes later. The students stood and walked away without waiting for permission. The assistant principal stayed behind, face tight, clipboard untouched. In English class that morning, the teacher collected essays. Lucas slid his across the desk. Title, The Courage to Write Without Permission. The teacher raised an eyebrow. This is not the assigned topic. It answers the same question, Lucas said evenly. What it means to analyze courage. The teacher hesitated, then slipped it into the stack. I'll read it. By afternoon the whispers spread. Some mocked, Lucas Crane running study hall with a janitor's ghost. Others sounded curious, he's actually getting grades now. When Lucas left history, he found William Crane waiting near the front office, flanked by 2 men in suits. Walk with me, William ordered. They stepped into the courtyard. Winter air cut sharp. William kept his hands in his coat pockets. I've heard you've turned yourself into a martyr, William said. Leading circles at dawn, challenging administrators. Lucas kept stride. I'm leading because she can't. William's eyes narrowed. Do you think rebellion builds legacy? Legacy is built with contracts, not notebooks. Lucas stopped. Legacy without truth is a plaque no one reads. One of the suited men shifted uncomfortably. William turned fully to face his son. You are gambling with our name. If they expel you, the doors I opened will slam. Maybe they need to slam, Lucas said, so I can learn to open my own. For a moment William studied him, jaw taut. Then he pulled an envelope from his pocket and held it out. What's this? Lucas asked. A challenge, William said. An essay competition sponsored by the Crane Foundation. Topic, what it means to win in life. Prize, a scholarship and a platform. If you want your voice heard, prove it in a room where it counts. Not on a hallway floor. Lucas stared at the envelope. You set this up? I fund it, William said. I do not set the winner. You want to play writer? Do it under light, not in shadow. Lucas took the envelope slowly. And if I lose? Then your little hallway sermons vanish as quickly as the mop water, William replied. Lucas gripped the envelope. And if I win? William's gaze hardened. Then you will have my attention. He turned and walked away with the suited men. Lucas stood in the courtyard, the envelope heavy in his hand. He tore it open. Inside, contest guidelines, date 3 weeks away, submission requirements. He whispered under his breath. She said proof is when you live it. Maybe this is how. That evening he texted the group, tomorrow we meet. Same time. New focus, speech writing. The contest is ours if we claim it. Maya replied first, we'll help. Ethan second, we'll sharpen it. Alina last, we'll carry her voice with us. Lucas set the phone down and unfolded a blank page. At the top he wrote the title, What It Means to Win in Life. Then he added the first line. Winning is not measured by trophies or names on walls but by the courage to keep learning when the world says stop. He pressed the pencil hard enough to leave grooves in the paper. Linda, he whispered to the empty room, this one is for you. The next morning the east hallway had a different charge, like a stage before curtains lift. Lucas Crane arrived with a legal pad, a stack of half-sheets, and the contest guidelines folded in his back pocket. 6:45 flashed red on the office clock. Maya, Ethan, and Alina formed the first ring. 2 more students hovered, undecided, then sat when Lucas knelt and set the half-sheets down. We have 3 weeks, Lucas said. We are not writing a diary entry. We are building a speech that can stand in a room full of people who want to be impressed more than they want to be changed. Maya leaned forward. What is the plan? Same method, Lucas answered, sliding out a blank card. Then we bolt a skeleton to it. Hook, claim, 2 stories, 1 turn, call to action. Ethan frowned. Break that out again. Hook, 15 seconds that earns the room, Lucas said, tapping the tile with his pen as if marking time. Claim, 1 sentence you can defend. 2 stories, 1 from the world, 1 from your life. The turn, the line that shifts how we see the claim. Call to action, a sentence that asks the room to move. Alina scribbled it down. What connects it? Evidence, Lucas said. And a voice that does not apologize for existing. They started fast. Lucas wrote across his card, Ask, what does it mean to win in life without the last name doing the introduction? No, winning is not applause. Winning is the courage to learn in public. Find the story that proves it to people who think money is the only definition. Maya built around her mother's long shifts and a certificate pinned to a refrigerator. Ethan sketched a moment he froze in class, then the first time he decided to raise a hand anyway. Alina chose a line from a speech that had carried her through a move she did not choose. At 7:05, shoes clicked at the corner. The assistant principal watched with her clipboard tucked tight. She did not speak. She did not step away. Lucas did not look up. He set his phone timer for 6 minutes. Hook practice, he said. Maya first. 15 seconds. No filler words. Use breath like punctuation. Maya stood, eyes on the locker vent to keep steady. My mother cleaned offices at night. She learned the names on the doors but never met the people behind them. I thought those names meant winning until the night she came home with a certificate for passing a class she took on her phone during lunch. That paper felt heavier than the doors. Lucas nodded. You earned the room in 10 seconds. Keep the last 5 for the turn later. Ethan went next. He started with a sentence that wandered. Lucas lifted a palm. Clean it. Ethan reset. I used to memorize answers so no one would notice I did not understand the questions. Winning did not start when I scored high. It started the first time I asked a question that risked looking slow. That is a line you can build on, Lucas said. Alina took her 15 seconds and hit the vent with her gaze like it owed her time. My father says winning is stability. I say stability without purpose is a chair that holds you until you forget you can stand. Keep that sentence, Lucas said. It bends the air. The timer buzzed. Students flowed into the hallway. The assistant principal stayed until the first bell, then left without a word. Lunch, Lucas said, gathering the cards. Old library. We run body language and cut the fog. At lunch, the old library smelled like dust and cardboard. Sunlight poured through tall windows and lit dust motes like a constellation. 6 students formed a semicircle facing the empty circulation desk. Lucas set his phone on a stack of outdated atlases. We record and play back, he said. You will hate your voice at first. You will get over it. Maya ran her hook again. Lucas made a T with his hands. Stop. Your words hold, but your shoulders crowd them. Unfold your ribcage. Give the room the breath you expect back. She tried again, shoulders open, chin a little higher. The room felt it. Ethan paced 2 steps as he spoke. Lucas blocked him with a chair. Plant your feet during lines that matter. Movement is not decoration. Movement is meaning. Alina gripped her binder too tight. Lucas tapped it. Put that down. You are not here to hide. They recorded each attempt, watched for posture, marked filler words, counted pace. Laughter came only when someone cracked a joke at their own expense. No one mocked the work. Mr. Peregrine walked in midway through with a paper cup of coffee. I heard a rumor about a rehearsal, he said. I can spare 10 minutes. We will use the 10, Lucas replied. We are building a case for winning that does not need trophies. Show me a claim, Mr. Peregrine said, setting his coffee on the desk. Lucas lifted his card. Winning is proving to yourself that you can learn in public and survive it. Mr. Peregrine raised a finger. That sounds like a motivational poster unless you drive a nail through it. Where is the nail? Lucas pointed to the phone. Right here. First week of this, I shook when I asked a question in class. The room did not open under me. That is the nail. Mr. Peregrine nodded. Good. Now pull the nail and show the hole it leaves. Teach the audience what they lose when they refuse to learn in public. That is the turn, Lucas said. Exactly, Mr. Peregrine replied. You are not arguing with air. You are arguing with a bad habit. Name it. Replace it. He checked the clock. 5 minutes left. Body language note? Lucas asked. Mr. Peregrine looked at their stances. On the pause. Silence is not an apology. It is a tool that tells the room to lean in. He left them with a nod and a reminder to clean up the atlases when they finished. They ran one more round. The timer closed the session. They stacked chairs and slipped out before the librarian returned. That evening, the Crane dining room sat too large for 2 people. Silverware placed with military precision, candles waiting for a match. William Crane entered with a folder under his arm and set it by the bread plate as if it were a guest. I listened to a recording, William said. One of your friends posted a clip. You are building a speech. Lucas met his eyes. We are building several. William poured water. You have 3 weeks to deliver something that does not embarrass us. I am not trying to represent the family, Lucas said evenly. I am trying to represent the work. Your work lives under my name, William replied. Do not forget that. Lucas kept his voice steady. The contest title is not Who Flaunts Legacy Best. It is What It Means to Win in Life. If I deliver a billboard for our name, I lose. William studied him as if gauging the structural integrity of a bridge. Do you want a coach? I can put one in the library tomorrow. I want to keep the room honest, Lucas said. Coaches sometimes sand off the edges that should stay sharp. William tapped the folder. Then bring me an outline by Saturday. I will not rewrite it. I will not approve it. I want to see if you can plan without hiding in adjectives. I will bring pages you can measure, Lucas replied. Then dinner, William said as if closing a contract. They ate in near silence. After, Lucas took his plate to the kitchen and passed through the empty service hall where the faint smell of lemon cleaner lingered. He paused by the back door without opening it, half expecting a mop squeak that would not come. Night brought a blank page that refused to stay blank. Lucas wrote the skeleton on a sticky note and stuck it to the top of the desk lamp. Hook, claim, story, turn, action. He drafted lines out loud, catching his own cliches before they hardened. He cut a sentence that sounded like a pitch and replaced it with a memory. The first time he held up a half sheet for someone else and watched a face change when a claim landed. He marked that as story 1. For story 2, he chose the night Linda woke him from a nightmare with a voice that did not flinch. He wrote the scene without naming her role. He named the work instead. Someone stood still when he could not breathe. He wrote the turn. If winning is applause, the janitor never wins. If winning is building rooms where minds wake up, the janitor wins every morning before sunrise. He sat back. The line crackled in the air. He did not reach for his phone. He read it again to the empty room. A notification buzzed anyway. Unknown number. He opened it. Letter sent. Floors remember footsteps. Keep the time. LJ. He stared at the initials until the screen dimmed. He typed back, 6:45 holds. We are building the argument you started. 3 dots pulsed, then vanished. No reply came. He did not need one. He returned to the draft and penciled the call to action. Do not measure winning by applause you cannot control. Measure it by the questions you ask before anyone grants permission, and by the people who learn to ask because you asked first. He read the paragraph aloud 5 times, then stood and practiced the pause Mr. Peregrine had ordered them to own. The silence felt different now. It felt like a tool he finally knew how to hold. Morning came with frost on the windows and a small crowd at the hallway corner. Maya had new ink on her half sheet. Ethan brought a revised hook. Alina wore a look that suggested she slept little and worked much. Lucas set the timer. 15 seconds. We are training for rooms that eat nerves. We will leave them hungry. Maya delivered a sharper version of her opening. Lucas stepped to her right and lifted a hand halfway through. Hold the pause there. Let the line land. Ethan planted his feet and gave his claim clean. Alina dropped the binder entirely and spoke with her palms open, as if offering the sentence to the room rather than hiding behind it. Shoes clicked. The assistant principal appeared again, arms crossed. She watched the last 30 seconds and left without speaking. When the timer buzzed, Lucas collected the cards. We do this again at lunch. Old library. We will cut more fog. They gathered their things and joined the hallway flow. As they turned the corner, Lucas looked at the spot on the tile where the morning sun always found a thin band of shine. It was there again, faint but loyal. He touched the edge of it with the toe of his shoe and said what he planned to say at the very end of the speech, not as an announcement, but as a promise to the floor that had listened first. I will keep showing up. The auditorium glowed with chandeliers and polished wood. Rows of parents in tailored coats filled the seats, teachers lined the aisles, and a panel of judges sat at the front with clipboards poised. Banners stretched across the stage. Crane Foundation Annual Oratory Contest, What It Means to Win in Life. Backstage, Lucas stood with his note cards in one hand, though every word was already carved into memory. Maya, Ethan, and Alina hovered nearby, whispering lines under their breath, even though they weren't contestants. Maya touched his arm. You've got this. Lucas inhaled deeply. We've got this. Every line I say comes from what we built together. The stage manager peeked in. Lucas Crane, you're next. 1 minute. Lucas nodded. His chest pounded, but it was no longer fear. It was fuel. He walked to the curtain. The noise of the crowd swelled, then dipped as the announcer's voice filled the hall. Our final speaker this evening, Lucas Crane. Applause rose, polite, expectant. Some faces leaned forward with curiosity, others with doubt. Lucas stepped into the light, plain navy shirt, no jacket, no shield of wealth. He stood at the podium, hands steady on the wood. He looked out, not just at the judges, but at the students in the back rows, the ones who had gathered with him at 6:45 every morning. My name is Lucas Crane, he began, voice clear, steady. Some of you know me as the boy who squandered opportunities. The one who failed every test. The one people whispered about, saying, he has everything but does nothing. Tonight I want to tell you what it actually means to win in life. A hush spread. The judges leaned in. When I was younger, I believed winning meant having a name that opened doors. I thought victory was wealth, cars, applause. But when silence fell, and I was left alone with my own ignorance, I realized I couldn't even open the simplest door, the door to learning. I wasn't winning. I was drowning. He paused. The silence clung, heavy. Then someone unexpected saw me. Not a tutor with a contract, not a teacher with a title. A woman with a mop and a bucket. A woman most people passed without looking. She quoted wisdom when I mocked books. She demanded honesty when I hid behind arrogance. She taught me the secret no one else bothered to show, that real learning begins when you admit you don't know. The audience shifted. Parents glanced at each other. Teachers stiffened. She wasn't supposed to teach me. She wasn't even allowed. But every morning she asked me one question that changed my life. What do you see? And when I started answering with honesty instead of excuses, I began to change. My grades rose, but more than that, my mind opened. I started to see other students who were invisible like I once was. And I learned the truth. Winning is not about applause or inheritance. Winning is transformation. He leaned forward. If winning is only applause, then the janitor never wins. If winning is building rooms where minds wake up, she wins every morning before sunrise. A murmur spread through the crowd. Some eyes glistened. Lucas felt his pulse but kept going. So tonight, I'm not asking you to clap for me. I'm asking you to remember the people who see you when no one else does. I'm asking you to measure victory not by trophies, but by courage. The courage to learn in public, to risk looking foolish, to become someone new. That's the only victory worth keeping. He stepped back from the podium, chest rising and falling. For a beat, the hall was utterly still. Then one clap cracked through. Another followed. Then a wave, rolling into a standing ovation. Lucas swallowed hard, eyes scanning the crowd. Then he froze. At the back of the hall, near the exit, stood Linda. Plain cardigan, quiet eyes, hands clasped. She didn't move. She only smiled, the kind of smile that said everything without words. Lucas's throat tightened. He bowed his head once, not to the judges, not to the audience, but to her. After the contest, reporters swarmed the lobby. Microphones rose. Lucas, was that story real? Who was the woman you spoke of? Do you credit her for saving your education? Lucas answered calmly. Yes, it was real. She saved me. Her name is Linda James. Cameras flashed. The headline was already writing itself. William Crane stood near the marble staircase, jaw tense, but his eyes unreadable. When Lucas approached, William spoke first. You exposed the family to scrutiny. Do you understand the risk? Lucas met his gaze. The risk was silence. I won't live there anymore. William studied him, lips pressed thin. For the first time in years, he didn't have a reply. He only nodded once, curt but almost respectful, before turning away. Later, outside in the cold night air, Linda waited by the curb. Lucas walked to her slowly, the diploma-shaped certificate still in his hand. You came, he said softly. She nodded. I told you, floors remember footsteps. I couldn't let tonight pass. They gave me this, he held out the certificate. But it doesn't belong to me alone. Linda looked at him, eyes steady. It belongs to the work you chose to do. You carried it further than I could. Lucas shook his head. Only because you started it. For a moment, neither spoke. The city hummed around them, indifferent but alive. Then Linda placed a hand on his shoulder. Winning isn't this paper, Lucas. Winning is the fact that you can stand here tonight without fear. Remember that. He nodded. I will. Behind them, Maya, Ethan, and Alina ran up, laughing and breathless. You did it. Maya shouted. The whole hall stood. Lucas smiled. We did it. They stood in the night, a small circle of voices that had once been silenced, now carrying together. Linda turned to go, her figure fading into the streetlight glow. Lucas watched, knowing the story didn't end with applause. It began here, with questions, with courage, with a secret passed on. And as the night deepened, he whispered to himself, steady and certain, I will keep showing